enti mago baby a wo bia no me ma wo hyeden papa wonu wabusua nyina ene ewo chocho park a ewo suhum na mago eja ne papa kwan nti Awurade yadom na se yenso yetinkwam a ebre no so a yebekokota na chi na ode eja ne papa kwan na ayefefefe sanso ene anopei chebi abontin dom hene wono so wo maame adaduanan umudi ewo chebi abontin so enti ye woro kwabrane mafo anopei memoachi wono na chebi safo akura no wono na chebi ye ne dia enti anopei mema wachi na mema osagefo nso ene atankonwani nyina chi na na hema na abusuafo ni nyina ma wo nyina chi enti saberema Kwabena wada Roma Kwabena bebia wo bia no anopei mema hyede menum se na mpanyifo ni nyina abedu wo chief no mu nyina abedu tadomdom ye ne a ye nyina beta wachi na ya amana efefefe na okay anopei ye bekọ amano so yate asem bi na hyeda anye de papa se bripam no beka ho asem nanso ye nkwa santemantam mu na yene bedwom kasamafo edema police adwumaku no wasantemantam eni nkomo kakra na yebisa ne so far bambo ho nsem wasanche region no etisen na wonu se police for do rank de mo fa ni agro enti se na be ya me ko mistake bia na ochina nko yen fa signal efi kuma se ma akra ha ame fa me nko kuma se enti no chief anopei me mo achi chief ahianyo me pami ho asemu nti no man fa rank na ma
oh me deputy superintendent of police
DSP DSP ahianyo wono no kasama Asantemantam police adwumaku no yeda sepa na wo mre eden anopei ya ndi kan emisa se so far security te sai e Ashanti region
me da sinu wasan bi sa me cha on we che we fo no hwefo nyina Bambo hu another security Ashanti region there because so far so good obia o tie bia o kumachin bia o Ashanti region bia because embreka kredi yenya yasumje yenya your peace of mind edit that story eko yedwuma eko your school eko your fifi mu without any major security challenge so security the abeka na say idea you to as a crowd one way or two over record one robbery or the other now over record one crime or the other but that's because the security situation at Central region or Kumasi as a whole no is very peaceful.
I see. Now say you say notorious drug lord will be or Kumasi match in Hunsen be actually ye can wakra mu ye shedan for ye ni huni more and more and I won't so now that one more the course no na wonim de betima ka kire ye no kora oye hwan na ba ne se na mu so yo no adwuma odi no no ma kwakire ni
medasi ne assembly sabio sa abemu ye friend no Adam Mohammedi a we di 29 no ne kora na ye obi a o deal in drugs illicit drugs e ka illicit drugs a edubone a ense onipa bia kora mu Bemay anasa bemoi information yenyaye any ankata intel me operations conduct here ema yetumi ekoche no beka at the oshofo no wetefo say Saturday on the 10th of May 10 p.m. and the course operation no ewa abo number 1 Ukraine ye call yampa the chi na ye search ni dem no ndubone ayenyaye ne de na do so ankata yenya tramadol 50 milligrams, we have 250 milligrams home, we have 120 milligrams home, we have 225 milligrams home. Any other substances I suspect in there. Any boxes are, they did say, or no, or the party, a yes, and the money way, transported by the customers. That boxes in Senya only them. And now, Ocean Funia, every 2 abontinia, it can be brave 6,000 plus. Now, I want it them. Rusha na sikano SCA the just say sikano onya free charge and that's what the proceeds from in the bonnet no autono that canon so the fire edi baye aye ka say die na ko kujira kosa ya bo kwedu ndi to bi say ya maka say no kre eye Adam Mohammedi no wo abo no mo wana ko nim no say me dwuma odi e wo abo no mo wana police nsa akad
sa wo ka wo say sa enuro no sa enuro nim say ade ba ko a emrante wa ne maba wa e wo ga na ha binom edo mo hagye mu paa no eye sa enuro ya hodo mo num ya edu ba bi ogina so no wada otumi de yehwe na so ma no pagya ne tini na sefo enya nkante so bode paa ewo emrante ne maba wa binom so ewo manga na mu sa emrante ye ka na wasem how long ni a watonton sa enuro bi e de amankrofo a munim
ya de oye ache na on say the police ejuma no de bia ye ka say a shared responsibility ye no your back so ye tie mu na temamufo no ene sa omo di sa adwuma yi eke bebi omo potemu a omo te na ya de ekoso a kofo nim say ya de oye ache pa enso da so omo ma police asisi da beka say enam ne pa ba ku mi no bi to ena ema yetumi nya ka intel ya yetumi de kwache sa abamo je betre se sa kofo mu di jaw dwuma ya omo ha dwene tondu bone de ma ye mbagom na de omo di bone no je betre wo information bi about them because Adam Mohammed ya chini I did not been true informant me other saying concerned citizens are probably nka ebia ye ntumi enso no mu enti mi na obi sa beka sa wodi dwuma na che na yetumi mufo na eboa ya yetumi de che no nti betre so obi bi otie ya na ohwe otie ana se ohwe TV a oti koma ye di na so wo bi woni potemu ana se ni fimu a odi sa boni we no betre ko mama akiti ma make way so enua ye operation bi beka say fact finding e wo Tinker Island minua the would do Tinker Island what's that Kumasi pen wouldn't send a Tinker Island case yura honorable minister as the police command and say yen two Tinker Island case na enura ye court Tinker Island and the regional police commander any nadbon penyimfo narcotic control commission for penyimfo KM for penyimfo ECG all the stakeholders are on concern about this minute ye call Tinker Island minua so we need so kase ye two Tinker Island na hu stem yan ko fa ye ayamre wo hu police ko ntumi pejja na mu eso wa num di bone na ma wa ya addicted that be a problem say take ya chi wo mu o hu police ni wo bi say dey na wo ye wa ha o ntumi nka so ntumi pejja na mu so it has become an issue which involves all interagency stakeholders to come on board to be able to eradicate this menace in our society. Inti yabasre see and more you 2 years started embarking on special operations to raid all the drug hubs in the metropolis any Kumasi and other country region as a whole yabasre all stakeholders including the traditional leaders including the family setup to come on board assist the police to be able to fight this menace. Inti kuta kobra eyade ha dwene pa ewo Tinker Island ba yebeguswa se na minister kai no ye boy won body bia say yebetu obi bia odi tajuma no ewo Tinker Island no yebetu na se kwakra na atunje ede aba Tinker Island ne the surrounding area
no we dey answer meja kwama wakono na nse ye nyane tie se nipa bonfo bi momofo bi omobo vendor ababa abako omboniti oku no abrante abako omkuku no no nifi ni nasefo eno so ehun samu aya kodo yi
meda se to be kaya imbrika kremi sa kese nya no momo ba na no mbonu to crew from ene mi a yitwa ni ti ewo father since mo no so be kaya ye chi sa am Robert no na omoye nipa 4 echimiensa eba ni tabako bako na yedi di ntiga se lidi ni jam kakra se ebe kaide na de be mo na echi no de ama wahweko na sa nipa miensa na yechi omo no they were well connected to that very crime nti yaka say de omo court yedi o matem yero akoto prison on remand in the third case no so you go say yedi echi I have that hope any conviction is there they will be convicted to serve as deterrent to any other would-be criminal.
Okay. And you know, pay a better CP, DSP, Ahianyo, say, when you are Bremai, a best about change you be near. Na yet you be doing communication, the cost was sentimental, that was CP, nano pay. DSP Ahianyo, or no APR, Edma Police, Jumakuno, I was sentimental mono, and nano pay, when you are Kukwaya, you need Komaka Crash, said the Baya. Bambo, who some said the cost was sentimental mono, obitume, Abu Yimukakra, na yet to me who. Said ya in some ACT and Casapa, and say, a better nurse, somebody can from Antemuso. I wrote some sa, see, na Abrantia or ye ne Mumu Venda Ibia, Nipa Bonfu Kubo, Tukunia, as I said, this is Kadaquet, Nipa 9, and na police for Chiwamo, I will from Antemu, I have flow. So a flower na Abranti be on also ton ice cream, some one day, I mere pumping for Ibi. One also. Akwada wonye mfiensia na wakunu na wakokosie akwada no wono abrante no ne dam ne mpaase na wakokosie no nanso bone wo hoi ensuma nti na no pa mi kasa yi womo ache no nti ebebo ehomode se ebekọ eho no monso se de be ya dia esi wo ho no ebitumi enya ano emuaye se medical kan no yenya bidwafo ni biaba na ebi abrepe be san kwama no so ne anisika se mo obinfo ba ko so edi nkomo se de be ya na da room no so betumi aboa me hu yesi kasem se de sitie se na se sitie kasa pa se so artificial ana se bibia sa na ti ankasa ye modern bo. All right we da say yensanya kaniti no ma me nko ni nchentau na yenini ni nkomo sense ono so na dwuma doso pa na no pay yensaka Professor Godfred Bokwin or economist na or professor so ewo sikasemu tutuemu University of Ghana Legon prof no pay da CP no mre ma wache
me ma wache o eni etiefo ina mpa chempom ti sen
yehu adom ye ho ye nim so ho ye pa
yes adom
we de ye dollar ni ye sidi se ye ti bi sa che mpampi no aya na dollar no ba dollar no mo na yo mia ye kon na ye su cd sa se no cd no mom asha se mia dollar no kon na ma ye sei yetumi afi ye sesere kakra anya bia ebinom kasa artificial ebinom so kasa reality ekoso ankasa bibia antutue oman no aban no na mana kokoba sa wo na wa bi wo sekasa mu me pa che wo artificial so na mo kan se Donald Trump ne nhihye na ma sisi dollar no ekofom na ma sidi na gina na
yo mpacho me dase anape se ye share if nia happens is here now ye ntimi nkan se artificial there is some intentionality behind it and I would explain the intentionality.
Okay.
Every two angles. One, fiscal policy. Ushe 2025 budget by present here this year now cut expenditure significantly. So what that means is that from the fiscal side, no, government is not spending. So from the fiscal side, no, you put the economy on the hold. There is very little pressure when it comes to demand for foreign currency. When it comes to demand for foreign currency. And that is also playing out in terms of import activities. And the demand for foreign currency, not only USD. The demand, echo form because government is not spending. And after share inflows of foreign exchange now, it is favorable to us right now. Favorable if you say gold export akosro, cocoa export no so yenya bebre wo kakra. And say you share remittances. So remittances is also picking up. And from the previous administration, who said they put in place, and we cannot take it away from them, the Ernest Addison and his people in terms of gold for reserves. And so the management of remittances, fintechs, so this current administration is also building on that. And to share from the inflows, maybe $1 every banner is favorable. And given that there's subdued expenditure and there's favorable effects, inflows now, government, especially the central bank, is now taking advantage of that favorable situation to drive down the rate. So this is a clear case of dragging it down. If it's purely as a result of transformation, our economy now, in the rate of appreciation, the strengthening of the city, it will be gradual. It will not be this sudden. So this suddenness tells you an intention behind it to drag it down. Now, omo can say artificial, where the justification could come from, they say, can we sustain this recovery or strengthening for the foreseeable future? Then the answer will be no. And that is why in Kofo I can say we need to exercise caution. You see the next year, next 2 years, when government begins to spend optimally, remember, really they have not started anything. You check on the ground. There is no real expenditure going on right now. In fact, entity tender committees having been operationalized fully across ministries, departments, agencies. So we have put the economy on some kind of a medically induced coma. It's USHA 2025 budget now. The Ministry of Finance, they are administering what we call shock therapy. Shock therapy meaning that they are shrinking expenditure. But we also know, sir, government needs to spend to stimulate growth. So at some point, government will start spending. At some point, businesses will start spending. The pressure will begin to build. We'll have to resume servicing our debt optimally and operate the economy optimally. And to say, do such time now, then the city will begin to feel the pressure. So now the question is, do you take advantage of this favorable situation because you have improved cash flows, foreign exchange, subdued expenditure, low import uptake to drag down the rate, or you rather build your reserves for the next 10, 15 years and assure market players them never again in the next 2 decades or so will the city depreciate the way it has happened before. So it's a question of the trade-off. And ultimately, the city strengthen abnormally is not good for the economy. And that is where I think we should take our minds to. Oh, there should be a chromo
yes.
Say, who import to BBA? Ni born or form since will be produce. One will say, see the way strengthening, the call is on importers of goods to reduce their prices. And I'm
yeah.
Now, the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we comfortable to promote import-dependent economy, or we want to strengthen local production capacity? So if the goal is to promote import-dependent, then let's continue on that part, but that is not sustainable. From November 2023, inflation on locally produced items rose higher than imported inflation, which means to say, we are entrepreneur, now we now per se, who started business, now producing BBA, and far better say we import rather than producing. Once we are importing, we are actually exporting jobs to those countries and importing unemployment into our country. So it's about the right balance. And I believe, sir, with what has happened so far, the central bank and the government probably will slow down on dragging down the rate so that we can build reserves for the future. I think that is the way we should go.
Prof, Yansha, what can send me, ma'am? Some young son and me baby son of a yeah, what can be said? Said the dollar city no air cost no dollar never from no. One more air artificial no. Say, is this sustainable? And I will see no. Me, I'm shame your hopper.
Yes.
Then I will see him to and yes, sustainable, didn't you?
So who person who judge sustainability around? Who better say whether the economy is operating at full capacity, government servicing their debt, paying contractors, spending optimally to promote growth. Now, the identity, if all these things are in place, now say the city is still strengthening now. And when you can say yes, it means that the strengthening is anchored by the fundamentals of the economy. Who share the economy? especially if you take this government. Since this government came, what transformative effect have we seen from the real sector of the economy in terms of industrialization, manufacturing? The answer is no. I commend the president that they are launching programs and policies, Ejumera, Akukon Ketenkete, and the rest of them. At this stage, is policy launching. The real impact is yet to be felt on the ground. So we cannot say the strengthening is as a result of fundamental shift or structural shift in the economy, which is driving the strengthening of the currency. And whether we like it or not, from the beginning of this year to date, Bank of Ghana has injected dollars into the economy in excess of the absorption capacity of the economy in terms of FX utilization. That is the fact. Okay, so you cannot continue on that path. And now, so you also want to look at it, sir. If the city strengthened on this path sustainably, what would that mean for our export competitiveness and export diversification? What would that mean for tourist spenders who come to Ghana because it will become expensive and all of that? If I look at Bank of Ghana's own reports, we don't have significant misalignment on the real effective exchange rate. So it seems to me, sir, Bank of Ghana has an idea of where they want the exchange rate to be so that it will help in fast tracking, in bringing down inflation to the band that they are targeting for this year. So if you are pushing it from the point of view of exchange rate pass through, then you should know the implication of that for the competitiveness of your domestic production capacity. So far, an objective analysis of the situation tells us to say our economy's supply capacity is severely constrained. If that is the case, then you rather need to go for what we call supply-oriented policies that eases the restrictions on the growth drivers of the economy so that local businesses can produce at cheaper rates compared to importing. Otherwise, the substitution effect will be difficult for us to manage if this trend continues. And I think we don't have sufficient reserves to sustain the recovery for the foreseeable future. Okay, finally, Maminka Sembintrel. Okay. Hello. Bank of Ghana should be explaining to us how their goal for reserves and the gold board and all that is going on is promoting responsible mining. Are they buying the gold for responsible artisanal small scale, or they are in our environment? Gold board and the gold reserves. We cannot destroy our future just to sustain the city, because if we continue on this path with the destruction to our environment, water bodies and the rest of them, 8 years, 10 years from now, we will be weeping. There is no joy in that. We need to move gradually from environmentally destructive growth model to a more greener, sustainable, so that we turn this existential threat to existential opportunity. I feel for Ghana. In the next 8 to 10 years, you watch and see where Ghana will be. If we continue on this destructive growth model of destroying our environment in the name of gold and the rest of them, yes, of course, it is offering stability to the currency. Do you know the trade-off? Have we calculated the environmental impact and the rest of them? So we need to take a holistic look. It's not about rejoicing today. What happens in the future and the rest of them? I think that is a concern. Sometimes the problem is that we are a bit more short-term in thinking. This is our problem. So, but what the market needs is sustainability for long. Okay, so that people can plan for long. This is second quarter. If you introduce these disruptions, it's not really good for planning and the rest of them. Politically, it may be good to say we have checked the box, but is it good optimally for the economy in terms of export, in terms of competitiveness of your local productive capacity and all of that? So I think those are the things that we need to take a critical look.
Prof, what you said that's now where the back quick to be near say you better take advantage of the previous administration and mobile 2 years, one district, one factory, one D, one F. No, would you say, baby, I was a no, it's an opportune time for us to take advantage of this idea near Mercury Nanka. yetumi ahye saa nhyehyɛ no mu kena na tumi aboa ma said the work and local production no etumi agina na nanso ama importation aba form na.
Yes, I agree. On say omemu hawon say mindful phobia ba previous government omu initiatives na dey dey empesa ye beto aso. Meanwhile, the state would have made considerable investments in those areas. And my advice, and it's just an advice, they don't need to take it. My advice would be that they should take a critical look at the economic development instruments like 1D, 1F, planting for food and jobs. Let's analyze it carefully. Let's see where the strengths are, where the weaknesses are, so we can build on the strengths and overcome the weaknesses, take advantage of the opportunities, reinforce the threats from it and the rest of them, instead of going to start things all over again and all of that. Of course, we've made some progress in the area of one district, one factory. I have looked at it and the rest of them. In fact, even if you look at the supply chain mechanism, even with planting for food and jobs, we could have done far better. We all know that. But we can leverage on some learning curve that we've built from that. Now, consolidate it at the end of the day, because some businesses genuinely have benefited from 1D, 1F, and the rest of them. And I think sustainability is what they are asking for. So that the idea that anytime there's a regime change, then businesses rise and collapse with regimes, political victimization. Now they are doing in here. Okay. You saw Donald Trump in Saudi Arabia, right? Mm-hmm. How many party general secretaries and chairmen did he go with? He went with business people. They are signing deals regardless of their political affiliations. Billions of dollars that is coming to American businesses and firms. The essence of government is to promote businesses, especially indigenous businesses. And there should be no fear and uncertainty among indigenous private sectors. As to say, what will happen to my business? So because of that, businesses are spending so much on political risk diversification. I need to be here. I need to be here because I don't know what will happen to my business. No, I think we need to move away from that. And I believe that the president is mindful of this. I see that from his body language. And I think he needs to ensure that all the people he's working with fully understand the vision of the president to carry every Ghanaian along.
Prof Anopedi ebeda wase papa pa yedim se wo baby ko na so ye hu donti wonya brama na no pe we de ebeda se na we de kete bi wo mo e ka se Donald Trump ne China trade war nti na ma ye sidi no ejira na nan so no sa na tie.
Oh, and yes, so strong. Okay. And yes, so strong.
Okay. You
cannot rule it out. There's a general switch from currency-based asset investment to real assets. So, share globally now, and yet just the dollar alone. Because of the tariffs, import-export has implication for currency stability. And there's some kind of a shift from currency-based asset diversification to what we call real assets. So investors are shifting more towards gold, cocoa, and the rest of them. But our economy is not so much open to the world economy. We have been priced out of the international capital market. In terms of portfolio flows, we are not that much linked, and the rest of them. So what is happening here has more to do with domestic fiscal policy supported by monetary policy in dragging the rate down. That is that. So to some extent, a good, given from the fiscal side and also from the monetary side, I have said, the way they presented the 2025 budget, clearly the president knew what they were doing. They wanted to stabilize the economy. They wanted to reduce the economy is overheated. So I agree with them. But should we take advantage of that relief from all of this in dragging the rate down to unsettle the market, or we rather use the advantage conferred on us to preserve enough sufficient reserves for the foreseeable future? That is the issue, because since July 1965, you introduced your currency. Our currency was introduced, I think, July 1965. Mm-hmm. if you see anytime the city strengthens after a couple of months is accompanied by depreciation, or especially since we switched to what we call flexible exchange rate regime and the rest of them. What is important, I know that Bank of Ghana has exceeded the floor, okay, in terms of the ceiling from the IMF, okay, we have exceeded it, but we should do far better than that. The fact that we have exceeded it doesn't mean that the excess reserves, we should burn it to drag down the rate. Hello.
You super profit.
Do you know what is going on?
Debbie.
We have seen, sir, we may not be able to meet our inflation target for this year. Because from the supply side, the supply side has not improved, as I told you earlier. So we are trying to see whether we can also use the exchange rate in dragging down the inflation to the target band. So Bank of Ghana has that at the back of their mind, that at a certain exchange rate, it will help us to bring down inflation faster than from the supply side. Because from the supply side, they don't have control. And the supply side is not responding. Hey, Ekromha, what really are we producing? All that we are doing is importing. It's not importing. We cannot build an economy like that. Okay,
so one Dr. Professor Anopei Godfred Bopin and I need Komono is Casemo being foot to say. Nanwati unim de okapa nkapasapa na kam se bisa na baku no okoba bi no nka se no nkron pepe no ne begia na so no odi se mabe nwotwe bi ka ho man na ebisa se wo mom se abochi fo ne empam wo mo no one wo mo ya adwena na nanso ye wo fie ye wo abedwafo fie wo mo so ma bi osikasem tutuem ne de wo mo sa question me bisa wo mo na anu ye bi wo no wo mo tumi so de amaye na no pe wo ma be kamensa o fie be hya se di nkomo menifa so pe eye pa kwesi eduafo Abedu or your development policy analyst or becoming sa ewu fie ha and then the dikan a ye hia no ewu fie ha ntino pa kwisi ye ma akwaba bibi aboko
e fie de me ba ha but wona mi
sa wo un share TV star
TV star
un share no share TV star
and me share TV star
no share TV star we da se bibi aboko
me adom na sa wo so ho ye
ni ho adom
me ho pa
bedumi mi da se ya na aya na aya yi fine ya so mpanso de ankwanta de se kronkron no na bo ache tro mo de se kronkron no oye lawyer ni na sikase mu nso no wa ben papa na books abranti e twere no se munimu a aya no wapushi amam na so ba kenkan bia na adwemu do papa ono so be kamensa ofie ha yebedi enkomonti ya me ma akwaba
eja meje so
bibi aboko
me na dum na so
na uradi adum boko pa enti na eno na no pe yanti asam de eni se abranti e ba ko a ne nwum ade ye pa mini papa ne nwum e de papa na bia de ne nwum na be sore dada ka edi sani yati na den kakra ti be ma ye nyina ho hyeden pa dada kwakudua dada ka edi ne frɛ ne ede ne nwum ede ono so gidi okọ enti bebi a dada ka edi abusuafo bi a mini papa ai ti asem no abomi pusa nanso we ya hwehwe ya edin so benden enye sebi nti ena no pay ye be man ho hyede na fe ya ba na ya hyase edin komo na ya hwe mama san infru so pa kwesi utie Professor Bopunya sama okan ye no a kame ya se ye niam nyina ye nyina no ye kra edwa ye die toothpick krampo ye kra enti na bedu baabi no sisi akasa ye service ye debt e ka ye de ama no ne ye ntua ye hya sisi etua ye de dollar ne beko enti dollar no be ye de nkakra eno achi nso no niema ba ku mi no ye ntua contractor for ka enti said the prof can say is it possible for us to be able to sustain this you know, I say no, what can do me? I'm saying, okay, no, but I'm trying kakrakawa. Yeah, she say no. Ya lamentation, ya lament ya kasa. did not so say yes or mine. Na gains are as you and you to me. As I said, I think say country ben put say mining lease on them about 50 something companies, you know, on my brugiti na mekai. Send a bear one move two or yes, good no money, man, on the abwamo. The course of Bokine, yes, Bokine, so on the so no honor, yes, honor, a champion. I didn't just a Ghana, yes,
you, I think it's a meeting catcher, yow. Na also amazing come show. When I watch here na meeting check some of bia. Me better people crow Bahamas. And a pay in Patrick. Okay. And see meeting check some na ebusan so Cape Coast. Meeting chemo bia.
Cape Coast
me fi yan fe kwekro for.
Abrodunko side okay. Na me first reach.
And not the first reach. And no tia sika for area. And the unyas kana chu. You when you unde prof wakasa pana the fundamental issue me just Ghana for the bia ye hu de de ka ho asem oye de yankasa yebotumi ya henzama na boy kind of domestic production no etum akonanyim you see the no you heard too much. See, for a dollar no, ya man do too much. Either as dollar is nisi apakando na debia yes dollar oya braboa oya badi oya sika to the city oya sika oya obi nukrum sika ozizi njuma to them hen so ye Ghana ha ye wo city hen so ozizi njuma into banana na afi dollar obi no krom sika no yeze agu apakam to the ohini bi na de bia na ye hoho no. I mean, why? Say Maurice sika ma ze sika ye. Is juma, is gwa ye dem bia. Is sika to as a medium of exchange. Into say me here bookie, me here suya. All I need to do is there me first kala me dem mezokoto. Into in the first place no, why must you even think there the special IC or them pricing in dollar and send me who them will value on it? It's just supposed to be a medium of exchange. That is basically what a currency is supposed to be. It's a one kasa woman, a democratic state, a sovereign state. Na se Rokoto aze ana rizigwa ana rizigwa na se one kasa wo krom sika na all there is this nkomo is kasa is todo na tum uma ugozi no kwado no intum mfa wo krom sika na mfa nzi hu nkomo a then are you really independent? Another is home. In the first place no me just there them dollar no cry no you pamper no too much.
You can't be na my say and school fees kura and school fees create $12 hotel e dey $12.
So why only don't hear them as I say only there oye them. You see dollar CD management no or more of what actually happens. Now it's also more of psychological. Share krom ha yetie hu. Nkofu bebre hu ye mumpa anka was dollar bi go ho. And indeed, you want penfu bebre middle and upper class they have dollar account. Me say the one for John $1.
Me Ghana be
no, but you see the question is there. Them account na ebu no. Say inye ebia trade bia azre na de bia essential commodities be appear the import into the them account na as a person, not as a business. So as a person, dollar account no kwaya you be saying there but as a part of the into bomo there if them discussion na the dollar holding another access to dollar another dollar account na dollar no community na no a move away from holding money for a transactional purpose now acco into investment. Instead of the okay I have a currency, mo sika, me here bibia motum zan no. People are holding it in the name of investment, all because on $1 or the cost. Into people instead of ebia government bonds and other into other investment options no. They all the what put all there $1 account when first can then on phone go no scan down on go home. I mean also you there into $4 and phone call a friend then Kotakoro market another I was so kind whatever there exactly. Inti why the Yankasa not in the first place? Yes, yes, $1 market today, or yes, your bosom be as a second only. It is not true. Equal US, I was the city was Zigua.
Debbie.
Equal Nigeria was the city was Zigua.
Naira.
So why there has it BBN $1. In the first place, no order ye here fee. That idea there, dollar is supreme. The use of dollar should come based on necessity. Tomatoes, tomato, me got tomatoes. We be a machine we mean to produce no hard day. Into them that monko outside, monko US, monko China, na monka fambra. Then one is into facility nko. Into them international currency no. Na zako na kai then akaji. Them as
we tell you say mentally no, we are still colonized. They say yeah that's why we nkwasumu mentally. Because say yeah to me kabrofu yi o kabrofu ano fumpe ye da fam hwe ye so wabon brofo so nyanyansa brofo so nyanyansa I say what so deep betumi ayadi pa but because you say onko suku wie nkwa chirichiri ti brofo nti ene obi CV odebeko or PhD QTS WWTO3 yes no nim nyansa enti no adwen mu no ye tu ya adwen mu kpre se obi ntebrofo a sabi onim nyansa two se Ghana ni ya de na se kwesi broni de ba office broni ni de ne papa e chan Ghana ni de hwe betompa boa bi wo akote mai lady B na oye mumu na na oton me to no 50 cedis ma shempo ban 5 years ni se me sese ade ba abaka jaba me to ye 5 years e made in Ghana 5 years e da so da ho e mu se de tie sa nete enti wonyi ni se de na wo ka se adwen no ye adwen na my sakwa se ye ma dollar no abebe ye nyame bia ye som no na sefo no se ye betumi ayi sadwena firitimu dia ene na esese ye tumi esese ye mentality ya dwen kra wo one brofo na kwaka se wote brofo a ena ayi broni atade ode ba na ye papa broni we na ye papa broni we na ye papa broni we papa no I say yi fi adwun mas na ogidi se betumi ye fi adwun mu se ye ka sei
medasi oh say I am double there President John Dramani Mahama. One of the issues are also Ghana food the palm ya to abazaman or your reset. Now for me and Maka one of the priority areas all the share in terms of our reset agenda on in hand mindset. Because from Hano say ya here na adwunu ho adwuma won zama bebre ho hwe problems o Ghana high you face this year. Corruption one. Just name them. Which of them now on here about mindset? Even in terms of her lifestyle, which of them is not about mindset? Example, Uncle says, Mom Ciceri. Mom Ciceri, done program bro from nephew Obina no from Ciceri. Probably some of Obokodo studio has Ciceri. But you see, them imported language, imported culture, not imported goods and all the imported things, no, they come with a certain cost. It comes with a certain cost. It is if you rely on them, then or they read about your hook. Into military abba the issue of even importing the commodities. Come here, here problem can say with the dollar and the importation of both the language and all the goods and everything. Be to them a prof can be beer your cranny as a as also you want to produce import to you. You see, let's not get it wrong. But you'll be a fun comparative cost advantage. You'll be a fun absolute cost advantage. Now day, my one who to me, you know. Men ye. But I have no more budumpono. We are still relying on external. Nehesaka. Abai, emo, rice. Rice, emo easy. Akoko, chicken, protein. Go to Tamahabo right now. Question in nama every day. Yeah, frozen
chicken.
Yes. Go ahead. And it's now not says what you but billions of dollars. Billions of sika. Na yes kaf credam zemi na ezaba. Meanwhile, Ghana has about more than a greater percentage of our people were kwafu. Now be a woman fu bebre na were farmers. Na say eduane boy isn't. Na say izibane other import. Na e kafa dollars the ko importer. Abai.
Yaw.
Eja.
Wonim. Kwesi ama we yim adwene afiri bibi so e de kwesi bibi so. Say e kame I say. Ya na yepe. Anya edu bia yeduru no. Me really feed that. Me kai pa champion operation feed yourself. Me kai pa. Eduane buya ma. What did you say about me as a son yama? I will be a way san say. It's so be a yamushino. Doc Prof can say sustainability of politically no effort. But in reality, nation building ankasaksano and koyi. Enti I said ye wo dware say wo dware akwada na otibo mu no wo hwe isufin na akwada ni na ato atwe. Sana say economy no ye no. I did not give this ye asoman. Eja importation some dancing. I didn't pa na so say ye. Na dollar na yama na ye chompiata no. Ebe firo na ye de adwene aba fie. Ise betu bibi ofie ma na ye a.
Eja me da se me chair ahwefo ne atie for anopai. Eja ma me kwan na men ko abakosem kakra.
Okay.
Na men fan hwe ni because me ne prof ya adwen wo fa baabi ba fa baabi so me ne nya adwen kra. And so I think that it's important that I set some of the context and the history correctly. Time MPP the first trade in 2017 na CD no 4 CD 20 almost 22 pesos inti the dika person make answer okwa abako say mo the nature of say CD no either say ejina and say a perform well no and yet de dikan ya yet bini CD no okwa abako say mo CD no enyina ye no Yahoo be paying. And make us to make the point say 16, 14, 12, 9 and no, it's a distortion. And for me it's important I make that point. And Jamaka Payne say and Sebio, I've been a market person and I'm your bank no na your portfolio be a friend market risk. I heard treasury sikasem ne who say sika kosro send your bank no me na me hwe so on two different banks inti sabi see the performance medi dwanechi achekakra ohwe time Saturday dwa maybe early 90s ekosi sometime 2018 ohwe see the na enfie numbia no na sudru note so devaluation na koye enfie num into afibia no depreciation on the average just is about 18% on the value but all compound every 5 years the mudro no better bear half that's on the longer term but the American say offer free 2017 the CD until about 2021 the CD no mudro no was the most stable in one of the histories. The CD witnessed one of the strongest stability and I say mudrono say a depreciating because as of January 2017 now you're 4.2 you have 4.22 by the time you call December 2021 now you're still about 5.9 that means from 4.2 no Mfiebe enum anai nayechi it had just moved up by just about 1 CD which is about 4.2 as of December 2022 it was 5.7 but oko December 2021 now you realize that now just about 20% into the performance of the CD no between 2017 and 2021, na mudrono was very, very stable. And that is one thing I did because I've been one of the worst critics of the second term of MPP. But because in their first term, at least the management of the city was one of the things I was saying na yakase first term na omuma city ni mudrono, which is to answer the question, Prof. Baby, I mean the Prof to say stability near no. That is my response to him. Say Oko Abako say more between 2017 and at least 2021. See, we saw significant stability. And then I get around 5, name drew 6. Between 2017 and 2021, see the new was between 5. Ejampacho de make what I said. Inti ebane say na abai bi etimi mfie num and fear 9 mu. Etimi kipi CD no around 5. Na fe ya drew 16. CD ni piki around 16 around November 2024. And the core ya drew 16.42. And sebi say yetimi amaswati abedru 12. Then na yesusu say 12 no mom your normal price of the dollar and not the 5 before all the crisis ayekomu in 2022 which shot a CD all the way because you say crisis na kofa DDP ne bae e kofa yenji CD nidi obi fi Ghana dollar honsem, which is what shot our CD to 16.4. Njeje de dika make from abakosem ne say yes, traditionally CD no depreciate consistently over the years, but ushema sa 16 ne 12 ne baby ayenam no is a distortion of the market and yet the historical performance because say if you num yetimiki be CD no around 5 eba ne say na afa yedu 12 afa dia anim before ka say stability around 12 nemum we shouldn't drag it down na ye man form. And why all those conversations? And then at 12, no, Jesus said 12 is the price of the dollar and not the 5 before the crisis. Inti abakosem insema the edika meka wa abakosem. The toso me no meka ni say many prof any minuane ya adwen say sebio behavior ye nyina yesuban no. E kamia say dollar no hu hia yen chen ye cedi no. And ye de ania to dollar no so and obia sebio obia who said dollar no the demand for the dollar na ye senior ye pressure dollar no a change senior ye pressure cedi no and say ye demand ne supply nti say nipa bebre e pade we ya ne bo obekosoro nti say nipa bebre ye de ania si dollar no so nti eye dan ya e kamia say price pressure dollar no ebe ma cedi no akọ but into the edikan mini omumie no nyina ya adwen say I was say yes market behavior kwan be ne be fa so amanfofo bebre okwa omu sika omudi okrom ho no o the dollar kwa I was say osesa because
na udi obusika
no udi omusika but ye de yetimi hu say sebi ye nyina minim say asemba kwa ebeka yetimi check dollar square was street so yesusu say normal. But it is not because say your legal tender na say obagana ye nkasa ye musidi ninti time a crisis ne start here no ye nyina ye dimika ye nkopɛ dollar because CD CD conform oni ye nyina ye de ye koka ho ene call ya kodu 16 eja I was say some behavior no government no wo botaye and say central government ewo ho akwanya ohwe dey ntina cedi no every even say 16 around November abedru 12 say
I don't know maybe say
there are different factors many prof ya doing one part on the fiscal side and now say Ministry of Finance famuno what is what we call fiscal policy omu ye indiska bebre ye abanu en yusiska ewo niam bebre ho nti there's a fiscal constraint nti wasabre no so because bia ye ntua contractors ka yenye kwan fufuro yenye adwuma fufuro nti sika bebre eni abonte a yeah the back akopɛ dollar no so on the physical side that is one of the contributors. Also gold reserve which is also one thing I was say you bought MPP abasu gold for reserve. It was a good policy. Gold for oil no there and no yen come off but gold for reserve no while numbers now your reserve no ya boa no abesi sabre in the way say you bet me the gold abaki ye seed no in the way say afofo enim say me bepe gold me bebe cd na ma nya cd kra omo central bank ewo gold obetimi aton ama me cd nti me kuta cd aminsro I know they are also me but yenim say Bank of Ghana also has been very active on the market. The exchange say omo the dollar bebre Bank of Ghana the dollar bebre a good gaso nti because reasons are Bank of Ghana and Kasama say cocoa sika omususu zo menya free cocoa mukosro because gold bo kosro say ye ton ye gold that sika ye nya no doso nti sa sika no because of gold board ne say ne omoden chichayato say ye to gold that sika ni na beba o man mu dollar bebre aba Ghana nti say dollar bebre aba eye reserve nti ama mudro no ama dollar wa abonte nti they will push the currencies down. Into from the physical side and the Ministry of Finance side, senya abane bon ho so senya on say sika bebre and no kan ho oba monetary side Bank of Ghana omo the dollar bebre go abontain they are making sure say gold can your reserve so and also kan ho but eja ubusa prof question be is this sustainable na prof ka said there be many prof nya adwen
I did.
A bet me are sustainable. Instead of saying say enye sustainable no, means and say a bet me are sustainable. Until enye outright no, it is ye bet me am possible. Quite many befa so a bet me am see the no. Say your medical can mimi susu say 12 na ye nam no cry enye the real price of the dollar. Mimi susu ye no the actual price of the dollar should be trading somewhere between 7 and 8. Inti 12 na ye nam no kra no mimi susu yemu is overpriced. The dollar is overpriced. Inti se mimenya inka Bank of Ghana should use their tools to push the dollar further down and we should get stability around 8-9 and then the market will take its course senya etie dada no inti the betimi aye possible eja de edi kan ye nyina ye nim se empembe bre no the structural reform senya minua ne kan no akoko emo ntade ne niema ye de ema dollar no hu behia ye bebre no eye niema ye betimi atwa so they importing ye de dollar to farm no oil is one of the biggest niema ye de dollar to tamayo refinery de bia ya ka ho asem aka say ya de se oma aban no ma nani akọ den ye Ghana as Ghana ye de dollar ni nya what is the demand for the dollar na say ye betimi ama ye ni akọ fa akọ dollar no ko na ya hyehyɛ mrane ye de consider to senya demand for the dollar no beba forma and no betimi ama dollar no sustainability na aye abaso the tosu mienu aye betimi aye beyond the structural reform which is more long term no ade ba kwa me ne prof ya adwen wo ho ya reserves sense reserves no ye sabio mo usika pudo a wo de support usidi no say ye busa say ye ton ye gold and I say ye building reserves ye ma ye ninko in 10-15 years na ye ton gold ne niama no ye building more reserves into ye building more reserves obo who say who here so obi be kwa ko china per dollar because onim say anya bia mekuta sidia
Menya
say aban no ho chene ne say den kra owo gold a obetimi aton dia ma me sidi nti ani kwa say me ko pre ehwehwe dollar nti say ye ma ye ni ko building reserves one you bet me am na sustainable eja de atoso me ani speculation say ye nyina sabi uko school wɔ Ghana dey nti na also tia school fees wɔ dollar uton fie wɔ Ghana dey nti etiamra sɛ obɛtɔn bibia wɔ Ghana ɛwɔ bibi sika foforɔ mu except for cedi kosi sɛ unje license in free Bank of Ghana ho etiamra it's against the law a obetumi akɔ hu prison ɛwɔ krom ha
na sɛ de yɛ de pete mu
inti abane sɛ ɛna ade a ɛwɔ mmara mu a etiamra yɛn nyinaa yafa no normal a yɛtumi kyekyɛ bibia wɔ dollar no na akame ayɛ sɛ Ghana de yɛdi cedi ne dollar bom sɛ one solve speculation ne kwan a yɛbɛfa so access to dollar na then many prof yɛ adwene sɛ ɛnyɛ sustainable but wode akwanya to make it impossible sɛnea wokɔ amanfo for Kenya maybe South Africa Ethiopia Africa countries anya afofo uye ne sa na say dollar no is only backed by transactions krata wa ho say bia meko krabibi mi ho bill of lading eno de wo ho kwanya is a legitimate transaction ye be ma dollar utu kwan sa without those legitimate causes no we should make it a disincentive say ye be use dollar will become a legal tender in Ghana. Eja dodo na eko pet dollar asem no metiomase ewo kwan bi so because ye nyina ye rational so what na say now cedi depreciated to about 16.42 sabi ni getre na ehye no inti sense o ye rational human being no on tena say man ni getre nhye obeko what we call safe havens and in many places they are friend of the reserve currency we are see dwadie nyina no currencies in num and a World Bank akeka bom in what they call SDR World Bank diga say obema Ghana 3 billion no in World Bank terms and yet $3 billion no de ma what they call special drawing right SDR inti ebia currencies and sika who do num and World Bank ehun ni say we are seeing nyina no sas sika who do num we na okeka boma hu hia wo wiase pa de dika ya dollar mudro e wo wiase nyina ye be 43%. Okay. Eno na wiase nyina ye didi dwa pa de atoso mienu e ye sesei Chinese yen ana China for sika ne mudro ye be 12% by jama minka until 2015 na China sika wiase nyina SDR na nka ho wiase nyina sika ne di gapa no reserve currencies no na nka ho
be field abesinko ni no
2015 review and ya de China sika ka ho de atozo miensa euro euro mudro de atozo mienu ya euro mudro ya be 29% and Chinese ya 12.9 and our pound which is 7.4 na Japanese yen which is about 7.5. It's in bebre say how ba nipa bebre dwane ko
dollar
ana because I know na in World Bank terms no and no na yedidi gapa inti nipa bebre dwane ko ho which is about 43% of we are seeing na adwadie inti meti omo ko ho na say but de bia omo ni mi beka minim the market enough to know say every year I probably will get 18% appreciation in value. So me keep it value, and I've known this since maybe 2015, 2016. But I have, as a deliberate policy, and everybody who knows me know, I don't keep dollars. Because me makacha me say as a strategic policy, me can't speculation no say a day ye na ye to me free cedi no because abosia no ye trust and confidence. Sika bia mudro enye sika no eye gidie nipa wo sa sika ni mu no na che sika ni mudro. Of course that gidie no ejina productivity ni production say wa den na we wo kro mu na bema amanfo anya gidie wo mu nti aban no betimi amana sustainable in one part yes long term structuring issues no reforms no na ye produce say debi akase toothpaste cry imported say yes sasa niama no na ya produce wa ha sesebio bamboo na amekako twa wo ram wo Ghana yemfa dollar ne kotwa utua jumayeni ka wo Ghana yemfa dollar ne chanika inti yebema production adi ani wo Ghana na yɛbɛma yɛni akɔ structural reforms sɛ productivity bɛdi yɛn nkan na all the other reserves ne fiscal policies no yɛbɛma yɛni akɔ ho a misusu sɛ cedi ne bɛtumi akɔ fam bi aka ho na ɛkɔ fam bi ka ho a yɛ sustain no around that nti ɛgya na minim sɛ you question na no directly yes, but these are my comments on the cedi
ye nua baako bi o US I otef di dwuma di echi pa na or the idea about say over the NDC's 2009 to 2016 term, the cedi weakened from about 1 Ghana cedi 29 pesos per US dollars in January 2009 and roughly 3 cedis 97 pesos per US dollar by October 2016, an overall depreciation of about 207%. Also, by contrast, under the MPP from 2017 through 2024, the cedi went from an average of 4.3996%, 4 Ghana cedis 39 pesos per US dollar in 2017 to roughly 14 Ghana cedis 18 pesos per US dollars in 2024. An overall depreciation of 222%. In terms of NDC 8 years, you know, Ghana cedi no confirm 207%. And MPP 8 years, you know, confirm 222%. Also, since the cedi lost a smaller share of its value, that is 207% and 200 versus 222% under the NDC administration than the MPP. The NDC here saw marginally better relative management of the exchange rate. Like so, no son the other banner say, "Oh, share percentage wise now. We there cost, we there by from there. Yeah, share. Yeah, we nipa bi a. Yeah, can bibi say. Because he say, "Ekoba say, yeah, share say ye tua because." Yentua ye ka de wa manone yentua contractor for ka enti se ye sha sese etua sa ne ma ne sha sese tu sa na mo na dollar no be san hira kosoro wa hu Ozi can you see me I mean can bibi kakra mfa asema me better kan concerning the stability and especially with my comment here and viewer no ozaba no there is maybe I think that as a country, when the issues come up, we need to address them. Or they can have some based on what the issues, I mean, how the events all unfold. You see, when it comes to currency discussions, all we know is depreciation. In fact, at a point, you can stability kakra. But you can't depreciation and the stability kakra. Number one. About stability. You know, they be today when it's stable. Today, I mean, government is doing better. But in economic theory, you know, depreciation on one side, stability on another side, and appreciation on so another side. Since man no consider the CCR appreciation because we are moving from a relatively higher value to a smaller value. Yeah. This year, about the God this year and there, see the no appreciate. And music kakra makan there look. Hey na no, you wish there he see the no appreciate all the time. To them remember the kind for abudu ebi would be 7, 8 nazi. Okay. Order he na ya adwene code. We don't have to carefully manage the speculation. To them we can now care today or appreciate to your through. And I appreciate, but the EGZO, I didn't know, be an answer them proper cade on your too short or best. No, or they to make sure the appreciation why it's sustained. You bet you never more say, what can fire? And only a very near to it's still about intentionality. Government no man who they, another government no shut down us, no on fancy saying to her. You see, or two things. I hear we work with the government too. Until a banish is yours about to honor. No better here so kwana ebeden yebafado you see the government must be very intentional about this whole thing there me pede cedi no or you very competitive not just in the short term but medium to long term no or you very stable and competitive currency until when I'm person
when and you see my yakani na no when on anybody as for the debt exchange whether we like it or yes or yazibi or besan aba there I mean not the debt exchange but I mean the debt servicing no
you pay impo obasana ba because e ka no ya ze ewi ka no ya boka na to ewi
you go so kura bo bi ka
you defend keke until the time will come I will still have to go and pay back in the dollars but you see so you're very intentional about it today you pay that dollar no all is stable and competitive time obodo ho another mbeno kura bo so that you could share back
exactly because imagine say 15 and now okay no 15 cedis because we have 15 to buy $1 say about 5 that means that cano sorted by 33% right about until say now we have $15 I say we have 5 until wait me at $1 now they are coach until but from even on those debt service no eba from here ebetimi etua ka no bi amaye
eja hwade bi o hwe imbe krom hade ho a ye mo fana we go into land for housing installment, what do you call it, housing installment what je dan na wo twa na mortgage no thank you and the people had they are pegged in dollars
yes
na mo yanku bi time na dollar no or depreciate no say kwesi since I'm into make no because my same salary no or that me and son me coach make no now such a person in there so first no dog oshe 150 cedis another 15 cedis not because you $1 coach na ka na in the history or 12 the same one into 3 cedis into 3 cedis one 3 cedis one into which mean there say on your 3 cedis the man 5 and 4 once we to another installment the same one. Inti say appreciation no koda. Even in terms of yankasa and debt service no company, yamu baharian because we go and look for lesser amount of cities. Na yakasa sana is akaji dollars na yagade ye twa hen ko. Inti or they are very intentional about it. Na yahu they are sustaining currency the way trading oil or kono. In fact, if your trend now is very sharp but most in fact I don't want to be I mean the pessimist in the market today. Musro do obasana bounce but although kofum into government on furnish send to her you see and one of the key things whether we like it or yes say there you manage hen dependency on the dollar no too much from import to all the other transactions you manage hen dependency on the dollar minia say emu na yehwe na orbo hen kawa sikana yeze koba ye import they be up and down you first can function rice production you see the value chain for such benefits no one odosun them import substitution as no one some kind of class man now
because amunokura no e betu akasa Ghana regions be 6 Volta region, Oti region, Northern region, Eastern region, Ashanti region ye dua mo mane ye enti ana mo no so the quality there was us be able to do we have to rechannel this interest from abroad from outside let's produce it ourselves you see one we are spending less on the importation two the biggest problem now we come unemployment instead of becoming a consumption economy yanka fa monum bra na yare yanka fa na akokwa num bra na so they be asika no from the village straight to Thailand, from the village straight to China. Abai. So, employment labor no. Now the people are going to pay taxes. In terms of government, in terms of revenue, the value chain no soon. Tractor driver, move. Who use your track. The value chain is so wide. You see, Mr. Government, Mr. Finance Minister. This year, yeah, what them space no because of we are now after the Ashasi, after the policies now sorry ba. What may very, very intentional. It's about intentionality about this. Now, your madam short-term gains na yenya. The fact is that are quite convenient. But in our office, one $500 one fambram. Within the next 2 months, na money will go. It's so convenient, especially when you are not part of those who are feeling the heat in paying back that money. The same one, you are in charge of procurement. Always remember one man budget. Let's try to bite it hard, kakra. Then try, then biting hard, kakra. Then you're very intentional about this. Then you're sure that you're promoting domestic
production no it will go a long way to solve our problem.
Bakwasi me da say enan koma ye die no we dey practical ye fear some ne ye kan ye nya fe na di book long bia na if the GDP arise the OTO strumble ne no na hwanyan dodo we ye no fie practical na ye hwe se twumasi so abeka yensa na ono so teta kwa aba ye da se so ene wo mre ebi no ka say mi Ghana ni obi finije aba oti cycle manitia no ono no kire mi Ghana ni no se de be me di me dollar afa rate e se me de dollar no to
abochi say Bank of Ghana will rate abochi or dollar
set does it make sense? Me sometimes you say we are we are no be because we are we but just a nyan saying say yeah Ghana for now obi fe be fini Ghana Mali not tick circle no be kire ye say you say run dollar no rate Bank of Ghana ka say munye no 12 cedis per dollar no ka so no obeton for obeton 15 Bank of Ghana no 2 minute kura no oh be so kire me yensen ama for say yempamu ye pamu ebe
ataka ma mentia na mentia mnuamu me no mo ahia ne UTV ahwefo nyina Jacob na de ye kan ese nneoma bi na de nneoma bi ba na no pa me sorry na me hu obi aye me say bibi wo social media na me bi ye estate agent estate agent na o kan say efi enra eko sese ya no ne dan na oton okoti in dollars ni nyina ene omonji dollars biem
Mbeji cedis
sese ya no price no ye in cedis price no enye in dollars biem ebiem ya kwabna na ye pe say ye transfer sika ma obi na ye in dollars nti ye koye e bank no mutumi ye maye around 12.49 na me call Forest Bureau before I say bank no ye Forest Bureau na eho 13.2 Jacob say me as a rational human being no me who dey be mama call Forest Bureau and na 13.2
bro be nya no 12.49
12.49 o baby and na wo be call abochi ho ebi eho 14 cedis eja de man nyina eba no ene say wo be call bank ebi e wunya bi wo bank wo be call Forest Bureau ebi e wunya bi wo Forest Bureau eba na kamia e say abochi abeye the last resort na abochi so ontwa dollars o ansa na nije ni Burkina ni ye be hu no yenya obi anim ba bi omote is open secret enye bibia won se to da bia na akofa police for ya say ya okaya emre bi atwam na ye yesa obi anim ba bi omote and even there are some banks wo kwa
omo ko to dollar
omo no be kire omo be kire because oba kire ba bi abekwa akoje no na e je say abochifo no omo ndi wo mo sa sorry to say mimbu omo animtia sabe Agya Kwabena ukọ na ohwe nipa ya ogina hoyi wo pe be te say $20,000 otumi de ma na obiza say nipa no konya dollars no wey enti me dem gidie mu kire me say they are just representing some people number 1 because say nipa no ogina ho no ne capital yesen na enyo onu amu no na eye business no enti opan wa odinisika ni kobu he menti say abochi for am robbers abe robbi omoda menti maybe they want see the to me fear misro Agya Kwabena ye nim for am robbers call robbi omoda bia enti abochi ni odinisika akoto bank na or the koto bank in what account ye treat ni sign if you say Ghana Agya Kwabena ye wo dollar account mienu ye wo foreign exchange account said the Bank of Ghana the betu dwa be say 3 days ago obeti so no and only account dollar account all right but mostly no exchange the foreign bureau for no into a transaction is not for payment and yet say okoyi sika no or the koye transaction na or the abeto ho sa na ekoba and na your foreign currency account to say me no mienu and business the expert media na omo be account ye no ye nya sika ye sesa ho adwuma enti adwuma ye die ni say eye bibi na me hia na bia me yi sika ni bi ede aye ewo dollars and I may send the akọ enti na me keep it dollar account maybe say abochi for so mu bia account or mu bia no as what emra ben na ema won ho kwan enche bebre na me say be last week or so na media discussion about yenua kuma sabi jamfi o cheska na ye kan wan sem na Ghana for sha say ye koti the law a back forex trade enti wonya forex bureau ukura wonni ho kwan na me bi say what level of hypocrisy na ye wo ye man yi mu if you say Ghana ni me ka ho bi me ka say me hu abochi bi anase sa nkrofo yi o mo sesena sika o mo gina corner na o mo sesena open ba bia ukọ every kimbu sai fi kimbu sai na eko ni nyina omugu ho ukọ sek omugu ho ukọ makola omugu ho ukọ nima ebi wo the whole street that's the business
ukọ airport udru airport
even police for jina ho say aya wanwa Agya Kwabena enti ya tsa ya wo mra we na ya pagya sa mra no probably because it related to a politician. It is uncle for no much nyina no why na more license to do ebi wa ya ko ni akosu ipini aja omo ya di ba kumpo atumuda Agya Kwabena the make man na basis ne say the appetite na ema sa abochi business no ekoso no eye appetite bi sa abochi business no me ko na menya sika no easy
ewo banka Agya Kwabena what business na me wo say me ko abochi wo enti sani ye hunu ni say ye and we are saying say aban betie na obetie na supamu a opportunity comes but once nyame adom mamenka ne sa e favor ye ntimeka ne nyame adom for since 1980 na yenya gold price a ekosoro ewa manone pa say ya data kire en say yenya the record highest ever since that year gold business in terms of gold price. I see ewo bra na Ghana yaboa ye ho dada and mechanism say because opportunity when ebechia prepared one Agya Kwabena out me maximize the opportunity no enya Ghana kwa na yetu gold o kro bebre amman bebre even from data there say even Burkina Faso gold omo no omu gold kura chan and so yasiesie ho na sa kwanya abeto so me susu ye ne say yen take advantage yen maximize gold price na akosoro no as early as possible not through galamsey but there are a lot of means are good operating say you be close all the loopholes nkrofo mo fa kwati kwan so say si abaye mra say wontumi ntam gold emfa nkwa manone wunni ho I mean krat apart from the big gold mines no omumpo no there is an appeal say ombesidi a percentage amayen as oman amayen ya yakotonti ya beto cedis afriwo na yakwa and say ya to cedis am gidi say omokromu anije ebisa $1 no obekwa akoton oba no na $1 no kra no ya basem na yen take advantage yen ton more gold if that is what eboa yenya yen ton gold no am I just IMF say you meet IMF reserve yen keeping more reserves because there's going to be a hard time enti emna emu ya den no beba no Agya Kwabena na what take advantage way wa build on number 2 say ebra gold price high no yen hwe say can we say as oman
say gold price echo highest no gold a ton ye no ye to me e di bi be ye activity bi and also ye productive activity na e chena we say gold price no so at the time the nyina ye kan nyina o enya fa ako ekoba ekosoro ekoba e betimi a drop it down say ahodi a ye wo emu bebre no e gold price akọ high and your gold price akọ high is because gold is serving as a better alternative yes akwanya papa say an investor or woman obey invest in gold rather than an investment in dollar if we say omunyina prediction for the dollar no and then near Trump all can Trump was on a strategy say obey dollar ni mu ama na aba form going forward eba form a ebe boa no ama na ye more export see enya so oye keke se onim de oye se dollar ne ba form a eboa ma ni krom no ma efiri ni krom no ne boa ye fo e wo krofufuro so enti airdrop ni na no ohwe probably o person will build the industrialization any certain things eco high enti na bia oye sa enti oye sa no a advantage my gold price na be cost ra kozi se dollar no e wa ma no ne emu baba be ye dubiem pa that time na nka ye ko bibi ti say ye be ka say e bia say gold proceed eba through gold board ye use 10% ye fan develop rice industry Agya Kwabena won say Ghana no ye problem na say ye so nyoma bebre mu ye bewie no ne anye ba kompo ana say ye nimi say Ghana ye major way ya high ye sugar poultry product and rice say nyoma mi nsen high kese so ye nyusu mu ba kompe ye plan say for the next 2 years say rice Ghana enye the hub of rice. Look at me, akwanya eko Burkina Faso pe Ghana rice, chain rice biya.
Nti ke e de bebre on beto.
Agya Kwabena. See, me ko na me di we ya bibi mo. I'm say no. No Ghana rice no. And no mo ni appetite for the foreign rice no they are ya push
no so won de wo mo pa.
Agya Kwabena na ye kani.
E bi ye se rubber bi di mu bi me wo sa ya chenwele.
Agya Kwabena udu Liberia the demand for say okay said me tie na me ne olumanta anampa nti udi amu bebra no obi say ada we akru as a tribe bi wo ha omo bibi omu di bia rice and Liberia demand for rice no Agya Kwabena and la form
it's a bit to take advantage of
Agya Kwabena we dey betimi
anso ha ya nya baby tintin bi ya
Agya Kwabena endra me ti say Ministry of Agric omo akoma adenta fertilizer so mo ya de but enye no Agya Kwabena enye no see e be ma obi 1000 baht fertilizer ya ma obi 100 baht fertilizer nipa hwan ya ma o eye me nka se enye bize me yakuani menya bi a mepe nanso yentumi decide say for aduani wey yeso nyina me ka se misua na misua pedography pa ni ya ka maize the largest producer of maize in Africa, Zambia. The largest producer of rice, the largest near kind cocoa, you understand, and the cocoa ni. And the country, young to me, Rebbe say, the next 3 months, the next 4 months, rice aba are you ready? Abai also a more mobiliase. Na ya mele fine. Remember, say you're taking advantage. Tell the Ekoya. Real estate for almost say change price in cities. Abochi adwuma yam pamono but ebegu say ekoye anima obi enyo obi na be pamo because one na beba one opɛ for asem pakodo ebedu brebi forest bureau na nkasa no omo will run on a competitive rate ebeye too close to the bank because there is so much in the system now you want to say whether Bank of Ghana na Odeba and as excess of our dollars and neighbor, sikane bufa so epurugu. Enti if you are taking advantage of the gold, no, say abai even if after all cocoa board, omunkwaje cocoa syndicated loan, ema meto cocoa. So ekoba say abai o issue they see a confidence eba. Yen raises some enough money be ema gold board. assuming say ni sika owo ndoso said the buyer auto gold na say eba dollars na yen ko change dollars ni man insan ko to gold ni see this game but rather yen beefing with enough capital na SS na the free brochure ba na ye dollars omo so no omo to de o wi a so omo hia sika biem yen ma omo no omo nto more yenya more dollars at least the enemy say see I think say 3.7 months cover
3 months
I mean
a little over
yen ko yenim Agya Kwabena there is no limit
10 years ukra
na yen na da ho na the SS na she ba bia
message bia ba na me pese o say amai me say Senegal Mauritania Gambia wo mu nyina pe local rice pa anti Ghana can take advantage of that nanka emu anka yi say won pese omudua nanka ye dua ne bebre ya na say we be trading within Africa ya nanka ye de kwane akokoje de ye daba ye kwane akokoje ne ye daba ye kwane akokoje de aba da me ne 2004 national best family in Komofia. Now honor a council of state member I'm Ashanti region. Nana baby obi am mo achi. Me te won ka achi. O se Agya woni baby. Me do ebura najo. Me twa ebura najo.
That time na me ofia
na ofia mpa. O se anajo no do ebura anajo no twa eburu. Ono ate harvest mu. No twa ni se tatatata. Our art growers no wono wa mo bia sase no wo ya wo twetwe no ba na ba twa ba no wato o se obaako for to minya 40,000 Ghana cedis after harvesting eno na etwe magina be se bibi so se ba ko se kasen bi se unemployment se ye adwene se ye bedua mo no pa o se value chain ye tententi which is very true our growers aveyime ahifa na agrowers wo ho e bi agrow vey me obe 5,000 agrowers aha your 3,000 agrowers aha your 7,000 agrowers can you say 5,000 agrowers ne ye wo no so no wo mo so obi so wo ba bi o mo so nya modwuma no so mfa so yes enti be wi ase no wonu de o mo de ba wonu so de ba na ye nya no boom enti de ba krefia ma ne aba nkra no na fa so bi ani so do you foresee say ye was sa kokoduro no e ye mu so man because ye can be said we need as I say ye intention I say this is what we are doing ye dey kokoduro be do you have that kokoduro bold na say betu e pa kwesi ye betu
Agya Kwabena kameti we na me kan be si assembly so say menya kwanya me tu kwan pa na unya dru tamale rice mills be bre wo ho ura tamale ura savulugu rice mill na ye sisi ye as one district one factory ni nyina gu
ni nya gugu
why na gu no buffer stock ura from savulugu na odru nasia there is a big one the man is doing very well won the rice I mean won the rice Agya Kwabena now the whatever rice abetumi abodin bia no obetumi abodin the rice ni be beat ne rice wufi wo na wura ai wale minim ba bi o mo mele rice e chen wale wufa the top say wufa fumbisi rice akese factories the problem na say abambeto rice wa mele for free school school feeding and abafa stock Agya Kwabena be di 1 year no ntuai make on authority e be di 1 year obi de wofa edura site omo ye maize abura kese na ene omo ye hiafo ni nyina enyo obi na ye omo hiafo ye nya ye man omo nyina supply maize ebu wo a Agya Kwabena say de na na kan ya wo ni maize ebia 2,000 acres Agya Kwabena wa wie the bone ne say wa supply ama buffer stock and na wa supply ama school feeding Agya Kwabena ye to a ebia 6 months
ni ntuai
na nkrofo na wakototo omo rice and omo maize no omo twem enti obewie no obi ayes o develop ya na gu be omo wi na omo aka say oh because Ghana for your what taste for foreign rice enti it's never true me ba ana me nua all call school on to me decide say me pese me di foreign rice rice e de be ma no enu na obedi ye nuanom a sabi omo ye prisoners ye mo aduane a then na say more foreign rights sebio ye wo aman I mean ye nuanom sojafo me buo mo pa sojafo me kan say o mo foreign rights o eja se ye intentional keke enya se ekoye bibi e ma ye mbe ban a foreign rights no but contract be a ban contract as far as food is concerned a buy all ma kwan e ma we import it source it locally eja won
peking cran so
a buy said there I mean 2 days ago Sandra your man panyin be kan say with the big push contract be omo be ma no omo say 2 weeks with the way back omo betua anything food a buy be related to onye the peking cran ma Agya Kwabena if the market is there say Burkina Faso na empire you see by that intention no intentional you are forgetting about any other thing. Why will you concentrate on cocoa? Me nka se cocoa nye. Agya Kwabena, ubedua cocoa be so no. Na why ye emo? Me nka se we irrigation no. The normal production. Cocoa be take and be to say 4 years. By 5th year, after na do commercial harvest. Every year we hear money 2 times. By that 8th year no, why ye emo 8 times. And amunya se mo boa e ofo hu. Wo bebre
every year they are married 2 times.
What?
It's 8 say 8 years, one is 16 times. Che wo kra no so no.
Me won say honorable finance minister obeka eye fe aban e secure 200,000 hectares for cocoa production good e da wase. But if that 200 hectares Agya Kwabena you be invest in rice. Now you fa either national service either prisons me ba na me be din komo say the Burkina Faso madam fu bi adam fu pa Burkina Faso agric minister ti ye ko no we ni ko din komo ye proposal but that time near the proposal 2 times I'm a minister of agric or Ghana I want the same proposal about the using the prisoners the case that you use here the prison where ya e wo foli Afran Plains who call Afran Plains prisoners they were fully and not and a Savior Church because Savior Church is one of the biggest producer of maize in Ghana. Who do what a year several hectares Agya Kwabena won na mu a it is the one who afuo e wo abrochire no Savior Church and na Savior Church near the place near fully e wo fully wa Afran Plains Afran Plains fully prisoners near omu yusu omo for the farm Agya Kwabena and Burkina bibi o can be say Burkina din and I am more Rwanda be mo it's no more Rwanda it's now Burkina why because obi kan sempo ajimia sembia no bia nyansa ketwa bi ewom Agya Kwabena mu tie yen if yanka se cocoa ninye that 200,000 hectares
no proposal mo record twice Ghana
no one po ne be fi Agya Kwabena na so ni Agya Kwabena it's what it say na nsanya what it omo be launch using prisoners for commercial farm
necessary business you see I had a more problem young Ghana for no de come minister of agric no twice omo afi mu kra but mo decide say proposal no come about
Agya Kwabena only dey pon frɛ na on bisa say oh asema wo kan kra no so onim dada ono onim ono na wako unko Harvard na unko za me ba me say na mu di unko Harvard na unko whatever intimino na ti hade unko he Agya Kwabena I believe say ye gwe esi ho ewie a we be how the dollar will perform because then na here in terms of aduane remember say inflation na cost ru ni nyina no eye food aduane a ye di na lead the inflation habanya intentional enya how bia ye produce ye need ye bem ye wie ni ho atoye ye nya export lastly okwa western region Agya Kwabena say we in Benso oil palm one of the biggest oil palm in Ghana in the 80s I dem rabba I say the repatriation of your profit obenya as a foreign company answer na mine no ebe ma ho kwa say fabi na fakono a percentage of that profit as I say we invest in agric then you deliver in the 80s so enti opeso de ne profit ko ba woni humra enti sa dia obehwe ne ono nso no oya ebehia no ɛna ɔkɔ bɛn so adum bɛn so ofita kra de afa point na ɔkɔ god ɛna ɔmo kɔ invest in the oil palm ɛnɛ bɛn so oil palm one fa nipa mpo no outgrowers nka ho not less than 5,000 so ordinary outgrowers ka ho a Agya Kwabena we enka bibi less than 20,000 ono pay o single company a single decision by a president bi say your rice na ye pe your poultry na ye pa at least you bet me a channel appeal to some of the mining company or buy your forest no aba say no okay and for you to mine in New Abrem by a mining company no you have 5,000 hectares of land support the folks the rural folks because amone dia oya aboso miensa wate because odima wo na woman ni sika no asa oni hwiye biem oye hiani Agya Kwabena it's just a policy and a deliberate policy to be enforced.
I see. I'm saying you come on, you feel come pa. Na me gidi say sa na say ye na betumi aboa. Yes.
I'm for week crank.
So na there so maybe say na we na there so. O can be about policy. Say or the omo the policy no come Minister of Agric. Twice Minister of Agric and Finance. Mo afi omo mpo e no mo ko Burkina Faso no. Burkina Faso fasa proposal no e dey year adwuma. Ama check Burkina benya the prisoners so mfaso. Na prisoners so e dey am hoto no man to yen sika. Enye e dey omo dokwan ho chen a no mo so sika.
Yes.
Omo nam kwan no omo kwan no kan ma no traffic omo sika. Omo pena da kufa ban abreso. Opani bi a na wonim de ewo amudu emu. Oba dey say by sanka o say na ka Ghana ya yenu ayemu. Ya Ghana fo ya sa twitwa 90 frustrate na no de Nigeria. Okona Nigeria for je ni tu. Nigeria for ya wanje so mbedua mu. Eno mudua mu gidigidi. Importation of rice. Mu ban ye kra. Now one interesting thing. Adwuma ko bi kan so bedua mu Ghana nti wo per resource persons. Na wo ma be kire Ghana for kwan fa so dua buru. Ghana ni na ye po no na ye fa na anya hwe na ono ko Nigeria for ko kire Nigeria for no. Sa for no Ghana ni ko kire wo mu no. Emu binum ne yi wo so me kire Ghana for so de edua to mo na resource persons. O mo ba ja adwuma di. Bibi se say ya bro. Because me mentia you. Ya bro. Sanka de na betumi ayama na bro so kora but ye wi a ni aya se twan ho a ni assembly mu ye ho. Wo yi say wo kan wo use word bi say deliberate. Ye betumi use say deliberate brofo no. Ni etumi da sesa ne mani within the shortest possible time.
Agya Kwabena. Me come some no around 3 key areas.
All right.
Now, Masha same is a fee. The same discussion I have with regards to currency. Numbers Mizabashimo. Agya Kwabena say, and the music kakasa about how, I mean, when the city is appreciating how our and locals know what can be do.
Yeah.
But there is also another issue, it will come back to hit us back. The problem with this is Ghana highway no. Tell me here na to know we are import dependent. Now import dependent is today. Now the dollar has become cheaper. And here's na BBA no ye importing. So what it means that now no the ease another separate importer or be easy. Because now be here fewer cities to get $1. Which means that you can easily also what import. Unlike first now, because they require cities be brave, that's the importation. It's a bit delicate because you are yes now I feel the import now pede no through the appreciation of the city no rather no facilitate the importation. That is where I've been insisting on the use of the word we being intentional about her policies. Them mobile, yeah, so much negative effect from the import side. Now, on the Western here problem further. Another also be my factor for the sustainability question there as to the dollar no to sorry, see the no to we now for a longer term. But you see, talking about the intentionality of a governor,
yes, sir.
Government are in for some time now. No, what boy here bro rough. And government, and leadership. Me miss West. What boy here bro papa. You see, they know what ought to be done. What ought to be done to make things right. Hey, Ghana for Yanyimazo. Ghana for we are very intelligent. We know how to deal with issues. Theoretically, you're number one.
Kasa.
And you see, fact is this. Yes, Ghana for we learn. Yes, Should propose as more. I'll come to it. But you see, the point is that interest, and I'll mention this 10 times. Interest and leadership. What is the krum hano? On what my intentions and that is all the year no into me ye. Interest.
Don't be free moon.
Goodness. Instant gratification. You say okay, you care about import substitution. They know when you focus on, for example, rice production, you upscale and you expand rice production. Ghana, rice is now a staple food in Ghana. Since you rice or a staple if beyond the rice. Until they know very well if your channel just one attention focus on rice production. Now the momfa a hen poultry fan come because or your protein versus carbohydrate. You don't focus on those two points. They know most of our problems will be addressed. But I'm going to what's there? Send this is your there, okay. You imported them rice now.
Will be interest.
What are you talking about?
To the detriment of the millions of the people.
The masses. The same one. Into the issue of inequality and the income disparity and all the discussions in now, it waves around that. Because the point is that be a dumb farmer now or milk rice. The farmer will not be in the capacity or whatever for whatever reason to give that leader be a dumb percentage be or share. And so it until when we are able to manage
where the command and producer can be pack you rice farmer room near Nidia Honorable Health Minister Kwabena Kando.
Okay, good.
Nti Kwabena Kando no nkwa ne mu obako ono nkwa ne mu ni o
uko yoso obi o ofun bisi obi o uko asutware
we ye de na yare ana because say if onipa ba ko petumi ye we na say because I say America mo amako hoda no yes ekriafo ho no is less about
just less than 5%,
percent kiti bi so ye ekriafo na about 60%. It is ye kase be reference on no die nie na nka me so mama masaso ba bi na so ba ye no sa na wo say ni anka ye wo how
same there with such a large scale commercial farms no you but you will not get the numbers in terms of home baby because the point is that Ghana no hen labor no another hen agric sector no yes you probably bring none where agric but most of them were what we call smallholder farmers until you 2 plots 5 plots just acre and kakra you see one but when we are now investing technology mass production no one na be able to produce enough for us to consume. In fact, it is highly insufficient for our consumption. Highly insufficient because the amount of rice I consume on there, no. And you see, beyond we are consuming, no, like we are discussing today, no, in West Africa sub-region, they see Ghana as a hub.
Oh yes.
What's in Ghana? What's in Abuja?
I'm telling you.
Yeah, the money is made in Ghana rice.
Agya Kwabena. Mezi wo tu kwan ko ba bi no hu se wo ye Ghana ni. Ghana asem bi hu ni se
into the issue of new proposal of the bay crack. It still comes from there. He's a Ghanaian. Oko Burkina no. Hey, you are a Ghanaian. Oh no. You have the right skills. You have the right expertise. We need you. And Liberia, like Guinea, I mean, there are lots of Ghanaians consultants expertise here. Baby, we must keep your sub-region.
Yes.
Big Guinea, Senegal. And one of you must keep. You see, we have a very strategic advantage. After Saba, after is paving the way for us. In terms of intentionality. That mom no. I had private sector, I had the local people no. Or then so you're very deliberate about the way you packages selling in the hand product. Obi wa ho dwam na local rice na wa pollution wa milling wa basa you know the sight of it cry no ye problem
and yeah the 2 hours em say na ye come hwehwe ni nyina ye and I think say enye bad as see atumi chekere ye ho na make operation feed yourself there na make kan say make operation feed yourself and dey be ba ho to be ba I remember papa enti you bet me yamana yeah for this mama na for year and run so
a few things dedi kan yes Ghana median age at 21 that means so far Ghana for me no bia baako at the less than 21 years it's about 33 million people no be 15 and 16 million less than 21 years yanjwe hu ye 21 years just say either say afi no university and now school into unemployment be a can't say no. I will say who say whatever the numbers are, you will half of our population less than 21 or more. Into a Juma I will say yes no. Unemployment yes, and then yes unemployment a problem. You have for 10 years in home when the average person are all 21 no say would be in their mid-20s and 30s. So who say this of my way and the continent in general a mabunu na a doso wa ha na dia toso mienu your land size is about 240,000 square kilometer and then we say Holland which is one of the biggest food producers in Europe and even as they export more food in Europe than many parts of Europe oka omo and Switzerland a boom Ghana such a mom premiers
Holland and Switzerland no
Oka land size no boma
ai
Azako Ghana mumiensa
wow
and so hon ye kokra almost bibia nti eba ne say no man nipa bebre ya mabunu na wa asase a so boroso eba ne say na untimi fidi ho
asase no kwa asase wo bibia
o pebia ye kan sweza chocolate aye kan chefi be kwa ya no mo beto koko nti eba ne say na value chain no ye de ya producers but you see o tin sam na se na wo say mabunu ya sa se ye yantama amanfofo be komu be emprensa na emprena ya no obuso say ba ne say na aduane a yebedi keke yentimi nya aduane a yebedi aja nyema mienu na meka manasi de di kan eye se bio culture no ye suban ene se ne sitie rice a ye kan many panyi bi a mo be ye right o ye Ghana ni o tna broche no mo be aveyi me rice a ye kan no mo be company nine eventually eguye and then I was in a meeting private place being an all hoping the edin come about businesses in Ghana opinion ka asembi the entire company nine ejuma enkosia yesebi nipa subaya ejuma yefo subaya na ewum omo wia no omo ton ma afoforo omo nya ejuma niye omo ye de omo betimi bia nti omo wo no ose omo wo different lots oye ha wia wakoye ha time omo ye ha no bi de car fofo na mu etwa ha eton e won nchen inti ekame ye se suban no yesu se bio we would have agency ye shebre be she yensem na ye de abeboa ye man no we've become overly dependent and now say yesu say afofo ye twem obi abeje ye nkwa ye twem obi e de aduane abesi e table so but say dey bia meka uko ebi abeka se moda mabetran kan na moka ba uko mikroma asase e da ho nanso obabnu bi ho se sia ya oni adwumaye obi ho se sia ya obeka se oni bibia ye nanso uko ni fia menkonya asase esi ho so kase se bi obedo bode kra na wa mobilize abeton bode e wo sabregia nka sika obenya no ukika boma enye omo ma bota IT office China dia ba kwa de bia ka China what happened to China near Massasaye they went through a very severe what they call cultural revolution omo revolution no ne fa pem ba ko pa ni se bi hu adwuma bi se adwuma bi so chen adwuma bi na ode ne nsa ye adwuma hu ni se ne hu hia anase de ote office no hu hia chen de ode ne nsa eba ni se na engineers ko engineering school no ba no intime hihye ka no ode ne ka akoma fita engineer wa mechanical engineer ka say ya ode akoma fita e o kwan chen eja wakoti school 4 years I am mechanical engineering me ka say wa kwan ode akoma fita o kwan chen
we say na I just wipe ebu to me where dey
inti ye woni say education and culture no productivity nyina ye say bi nimdie den na minim den na metimi de aye bibi sa nimdie no ni manpower ni asase ni resources no e dia di produce bibi say yanse say ye suban na ya nkyere ye hu ye nhye say bi onyansa ni diligence na yanse say ye suban na ye be wo resources ni nyina ye be wo youthful population ye be wo asase ye betena ha akasa say ya
ye betena akasa say ye rade man pare ye say be kasa say ye bia bi beso a sabi yes mo ye kan pay me shase no me intro no me can be about ye wani mudifo bebre Dr. Kwabena from Paul Boatin ye hwe so say ono ba ko pe papa ji ko fan fi Germany ba Ghana no ene cardio center wo kolebu we train hundreds of doctors ene ebi mo kwamba no ne ko ye adwuma ba ko pe ye was similar crofo bebre wa manone a enye ayinku a prof chese animu difa kesa but ena no pena me hwe video bi America soja ni bi oye broni no katwi so kuma apem baba na ni abre o katwi bi ni se ye wo nipa a wo betu ababa ye na mo no oba fie a adwen a obehia no amane ne amasei insusuo wo no mi se Dr. Fripo Boate de bia me de mitu bi chema no esan se oba ye no odini na si ho enti kakra na hwe nso yenye ne pem no mu di na tempoto nso be ndɛ politics ya hwe ya kan nyina no na ye kasa oman ne ye kyekere enra migration service for etu anamon bi na prince we de me pa chewo me kasa me de ma da me refi se ye betu na me nya kwan ekɔ aboso kan na bebi ana nkrofo ne tie no me nya kwan kotwa kakra bi nti prince we de me for de ama na we yi ne ahwefo tumi ahwe ne ahwe bebi ana nkrofo ne tie aha nkrofo ni nie ene bebi ana omotie na bebi ana omotie no kwasem a wo ma no aduane a wo mo kwa akoton bebi a wo mo tie a me se wo ma no aduane a wo mo kwa akoton no you have no idea hwe nipa bebrebe and I'm so much about 2,600 and something and you mo kwa bebrebe na kwa aduane wo ji ni say ya na say ye no ana say wo hu ni say mama take me nya madwen kire wo de see no say bia esi ye enra migration for ye enra no wo ji di say won betumi aye ama na aboroso ye betumi aye den no mo ye sese no ye form nko bia nko de krom ni ye nya kwan enchichiri ye kuro no anase ugiri say den na wadwen we ho so ba nso
the medical can say Ghana on say your mind be a kamea say pasem esura asem but be amete no yenye gated community fine obia tini baby ye oba ye ho no ma Agya Kwabena yenya na ye quota na wo ho ni nyina yenya obia obia contribute here na oba area ho Agya Kwabena anajo kra light clean to kran light pole bi esi wo fi anim sa street bulb no e woka
okay
ehia ye ma 1 week one replace ya e be replace as a situation you replace ya obeto 3 nti da bia ya excess light bulbs e wo beyond that ye nyina ya gitumu because na ye nya problem bia won nkrofo ya
ha we de enra de ni we aboso kan chiri ho pe won gata na eda ho no enti enra bra ye ho aha na ebinumu a wo manu aduane ye mo ene tale asade ye kan okumase no macaroni ene beans omo kokoton wo aha ana na omo tete
omunya nso no we
omunya nso no he
nso na esi ono no de
omunya nso no he se we nso we nim no de no aduane no nso omo kobu we pipe nso omo kofa we e wo gata na no pe nti ha ana na nra wo manu aduane a wo mo de ko Central Mosque kase na e wo obuso kan ho no e ho no mo tonton ni ane nti e ho ni
nti Agya said de wo kan nti ye nyina ye gitumu se won mrantie ya abai omo so ye we mu nuamo ano no omo sisa scraps no omo sisa scrap ebi wo Agya Kwa wo ye wo dan na wo de onuoma gu ho no wo be kwa aba na nkrofo ya be fa ko
enra be hwe video bi obi wala wato no tin na asase ho ban no ayon ross na wo mu no omo ko bu ayina nti na obru nua oso mo nipa ni 3 days wa wo to en one fan ma and me feel me da sorry ade se me kwa na me doorbell yi ne ayira
doorbell tuko Kwabena ana ye gitu mu se eya situation now ebi mo akotena brochi da ade se na ye na mo se brochi obi anya hwehan se ukwa brochi na wo ni paper yes aka wa ba no enye police ni na hu wo obi na wa reporto nti die esu ene se now we share obi yenim ye ho we share obi a onte ho abisa ne se okohe Agya Kwabena se ne wo ba besra me the moment a movie wo ka ne e share ye area ho na bonsa hwe ya obi giramfi obesi obe bikwa kwan na ho mpie obe bisa wo se wo hwe obi wo ha na me ko asuma enye gated community ye ni security man ye ni hwe menam na misa mrantie mienu enam ho mechia pacho ma betna ha na wo hwehwe obi ana enti ema se obi ye nipa boni ni bi mpo eba ho a osuru yembra ye nua yi mu enye we any first time ya kwakọ ye omuse Ghana for the last 2 weeks or so and some NGOs says omo ye hu dede enya me wanwa bebre se omo ye hu dede na ya ba be sebe we mu ye nim ba bia mpo no at least from Oponglo Legon anima all the way to 37 obi ani wa ofa ho a ohun omo police panyini ohun omo immigration panyin ohun omo wow enti me bisa say omo ya ade number 1 but eye na no mo ohun ana Agya de ye hu wo mu ne say ngwofo ya ye ka omo hu asemi wa hu say after certain age ye hu omo biem omo ebi wa be omo ntimi mema ema oburu be 10 years a ye hu ni biem no ayira oyira ko he na nketo aba oduru age bia no ayira okoni kromu ana se owo Ghana ka hunu se Ghana ye wo mra o ye wu obi wo Ghana ye wo ne wo Ghana owie obaba be ye Ghana kado sa nipa ya o diniti atumi onkai ne maame onkai ne papa oye u bibia de ma Ghana eya ana ye ntumi nye boni bi ni se ye nim abusua enti me ye obibi kura me say ebi kura me nua bi kura nso aware wu nua bi enti ba na ye abusuafo ba me nimu en said o mo aye enura no na metie news anwumre mete say na o mo se enura anwumre no o mo be de o mu nyina be come back en wo de o mo ko ye de o mo akoda ya tu o mo da ade be che ana be du mire ketua bi na o mo asaba but me propose and say as I say intentional said they are kind intentional policy one say going forward yen ka say ma obi metna Ghana enye we mu nko e bia sika na omosire ntina ye omosa what about the Nigerians and ba bi a obefa bia ba bia akona bia yen ka say ma ne nche ha no yen ya America na if we America akura na wo paper na e kire say wotena ho why not but obia ba Ghana obia obe konof o ba south Agya Kwabena boys you omotika ni mu nyina ebu a obe foka no nipa be 2030 Burkina base na ye be dru custom no custom immigration na omo abe machi o mu nyina do omo kodran mu ho ombe che wa the 10 minutes no mu nyina abetena kam at least every month be a man konof kura no enye 4 times 4 times ni nyina no me kwa metena public transport 4 times ni nyina no omusi sankrofo eko immigration dan mu obia
different group
that bia Agya Kwabena omunkoi mo munkipi one poda me say enye so obi say enti me say omukọ wo no ma omukọ bi so omodan eye ni sika na ope enti wo kwa de o delay wo no eye sika no na wuntu aye enti na hombo o delay wo enti ebu abase e betra ka ni mu a na poli ayi your friend is mate ayi conductor no and na driver ni na ka kire mu say ye ko no obi ampe Ghana cedis enya se ebe kwa koduru ho enya se me nka se ye fu ka no Burkina wo ye fu wafu wo fu wo hamile wo fu wo tumu wo fu wo golu wo fu wo boga na vrongo I mean all the north and the borderlines ni nyina no ombe ka kire wo oduru wo hu na hu so onye Ghana ni ampani ampa omu yi ni pie Africa ni mu bo pie ye no man 5 minutes no mu nyina sa begu ka ni mu the point nene say and just a year day wonder said your mu yi but rather ye na ye pamu obi nso Ghana ye gi ahoho me na na din no ogi ahoho ye ojebi ye na ye gi ahoho ba ye gi ahoho a omunam mra kwan so ye gi ahoho a omunam mra kwan so ye ma Ghana bo nya din kakra na ye ma asem ehia ye agisi obi aye hu dede kakra ansa on wenro echi amati say ye nuanom driver for say car owners almost omo call strike because of pavement and I say the abaye be decongest ento omo ankasa na nka ye nim ana
ya no muni
yeah
sometimes we man na some no tibia o tina sound say I say me a ebeguam hohom and abayi mu ana
we come say ye react to niama rather than yet na say adwen ahwe kan adi niama anim you know so I think that as a people no sebio ne ni kwan say metna say esusu say oh awo beba meshe den emu nyemo ba kwadu wo ho kwadu kwa abofre beba bofre ba me fan feature me to bibi wo form nti I don't think that over the years no yanya bre esua se ne esi tena susu se nso betoi den na meshe awo bebe nti me nyesho say yemu bebre no and this is backed by data actually me nyesho say yemu bebre no yetena se ayadwin say oh 5 years 10 years 20 years den na beba na menye den ne ansa na medi 5 years 10 years na nim inteja ubuza se ni anima ebia ni animba ni enwe ho ya hu de but obi kan ya na to yetim say okay na yenya ni say but already e course ya ja me ya were different layers and ankra bebre the edikan a social welfare dimension and as a social welfare in semno I remember say about 2-3 years ago in our firm we were thinking carefully say kwan ben de betimi afa e be see social welfare in semno nankra na owo kwan ho na doso just around that time Ajumakobi the Assembly Court Supreme Court social welfare minim say mpe bebre omoka say oh ye more muska or budget or so mo de ye niam ni ho but I think say I will say my ni social protection and social welfare as a people because you see ya kika nyina eyen kra na ye kan omo ho asem of course numbers na buy na yen kra nkwa mema wo mpanyifo wo but I think say the dikan eba ne say na oman etimi say ena no pa ya meba ya enra ya chichi pipi adenta ene Madina enkra gina meka ho bom enye enra ena no pa omo anji amiru ho no pa ya meba ya no pa
da mi we enye akiro
animu ya
traffic light ya say
nti eja say ati 2000 aye sabio ya miehwe bi e wo fa ba bi e kamia say ya miehwe but ye pese solve problem nankasa the question nankasa is social welfare no sabio social welfare panyini ote hefa ote adenta na so ote opoko ase ana ote teshi nti osore no pa no kasa okwa adwuma no pa o social welfare or ministry no tenaka no enkra begina ne kan ho saa no kodu adwuma no kasa o mi adwuma o social welfare ma ba adwuma o gari anopa no na adwuma ba no okọ adwuma ba important no okọ but minim so mo so o mo challenges but I think say question I was say ye busa ye ho pa ne say social welfare ye adwuma wa ha ne ba ne say na nkra tena se wo kwan ho afa immigration for na echichi omu nti ejade edikan le edikan social protection ne social welfare structure no eye adwuma wo kroma na enye adwuma ana se bi edin keke se eye adwuma wo krom ha eni kwan se nka nkra no tena kwan ho ebesi ena se ne eke enra ye chi amafo anopa ya ye ka animu ha ne me adenta make enkra da so a obi kwa adwuma nra so ye adwuma o social welfare
enra asam ye si ye me adreku bi me money din because I say woman publicity asam ne ba ya na waba wuram asam ba ya na waba wuram ayi we ba ya na ai empanifo om ni nyina they should prosecute all of them and I find kosi na enti wana me ka say or opportunist onye proper because sanka we a proper and serious NGO sorry at kwandiama a particular group of people advocacy ne ba koso abribia magana fa tonka enye se bia high profile na wa ba wuram se wo de kokot wa ba wuram se enye we no me de no twam kaka ya mo
je to so me no ameka ne se social welfare one but ye nim se the many of the people no mu nyina kwa dodo na poverty anahia eneti ase omo kwan no manfofo Ghana for so ka ho enkra na omo kwan ho omo sra de bi ton ne ma no Ghana for bi ka ho but ube pilina no poverty is at the base of it into the atosumi no what is my second layer here and what is the structure beyond social welfare no kwan be ne first so aye hwese sebi omo gina kwan ho ye pa adwuma fofo amomo ye tu hia na se niam na the prevalence factors na ma omo ba kwan ho ye solve eja immigration ne border issue no sebi o Ghana unip krata nti immigration abam but the edikan say immigration for border so nti abani say na the edikan omo ba ye nim say ECOWAS ne West Africa there your freedom of movement into ubetimi akọ for akubebre at least for a limited number of period diedikai border nsem no answer no mobile ha no mo for border bi na ram nti e kan so omunya Ghana for crime immigration no mo border no I think say in anaka say oba na de o makọ no ma pie ye nka say omuji ska de but say omuji ska crime na immigration no ebe solve those problems from the borders no man baha so that's the third layer the other layer they say see a build African identity. Yeah, well, after ECOWAS freedom of movement. I mean, say Niger any Mali for ECOWAS there, but na anko Ghana must go because say a lot of for pam Ghana for a lot of Ghana for ne start here. Yes, starting komo ya. Na ya anko say because can Ghana for bi so baby. Inti me say cheni no. The dimension of diplomatic relations and quite better foreign minister ne omo ministers din komo se ne enkoye se yachi amanfofo bi ene e deport omo no chena so yanko ka se Ghana for omo so wo ho no yachi omo na e pam
na we no mu de omo ye ne nyefe
eja ye nim se de omo ye ne nyefe
Ghana ni wo man bi so so di asempa anope odi asempa na se wo so pam na san de na it say oboapayo
eja de omo ya ne nyefe that is why I'm saying say there were courses
okay
say bi mpanyimfo omo de nkura gigiska yen post emma wo ho ontimi nyesa inti o Ghana kwan ben of us oba na o ECOWAS na say 90 days or say 60 days or give visa so oba say wan give visa kra oba ye no immigration system ben ya wo ho aye make sure say emrani ejuma do sanya mano na wo say ehwehye yehye kwan hu ginagina no ebetwa so but empre ya no yes I don't have any problem say ye you o ma fi kwan ho ye fa o monko ba bia o monko but ye make sure say enya ade a say bi o ye mienhwe na ye no fa ba bi a ye ja fa ba bi because enkwada so nam kwan ho a ye kasa no pay ya enkwada bebre da so nam kwan ho into immigration service here we no ja o mo a as selective justice kwesi no ja kwanti
Bakwesi ye sorry so ye set kasen bi say enye wo mo esresade nko a ye wo other nationals organ ha business omo ye no they don't pay a dime peswa omo ntua enra na me no bi din komo se hwe woni ye nua latani bi no ono no otonton pipes ya ye de plumbing pipes na efia wakukura si ho no enye fiketwa eno de one room aye warehouse nti the niam no gu ni ka mu a na o de call house to house na o de free Ghana for nti oya bre no so a na okoje niska bre no so a na okoje niska o se akwa no wo sika me niska keto so ka pre wontua bi ba kwesi ebri bia no du ba bia so once kire wo se bo fa senenti kuru umia wo su wa mia so na epro ese no se ya ma ya ni anya din e wo niam bi hu a ebe ha ya adwene and as ye di so a ebe say niam what's the way forward 5 minutes in sorry
eja one issue very contemporary ewo a development and as mpunto ho komodie se sia okrom ha and even the whole world migration uko US omo migration issues the bia US na music omo ko mebo because music of the bia no omo push ko uko Europe omo ne Africa especially and Asia for omo ne your problem or Sahara Daroma your first one ko pele bia na nam so no na ye ko uko Asia they also have their own issues with migration. Africa you were a problem. It's a global issue. Now migration so send me everybody that can know. It's about poverty or your economic issues there one side. There were issue also about environmental risk and other things. We all through community disaster. China say China to kwa in the sikabe all right, but they be on to 70 other issues na sumjen mpe bi fa. Inti un say you can't this issue of migration. One is about baby ani pani free then ekoso. Two ofri o san na na ekoso nti oso ofri ho or kwa hin. Inti the destination country na e receive so as incentive bi wo na say bibi wo ha e twe nipa no ada nipa no free Libya na wanko e bia Burkina na Nigeria na oso oba Ghana. Inti that's something bibi na e pulling from example Niger e dey na Ghana. Wo hwa ye migration statistics okrom ha na omo immigration omo ba inside omo ba Ghana enya abrofo no ne kese na from West Africa e wo Ghana in 10-hour migration into the country Nigeria for na number 1 enye second one enye Niger o Togo and after the other country in fact Niger they will share in terms of proportions now Niger for kitwebi so now the question is then that small group no I am very visible and dominant. I say, they are known for the bad reasons. I'm happy sir with the Nigeria issue no be can because say Nigeria for apa they are in the country. Unlike the vice versa, we should Ghana for mutu kwai outsider. And Nigeria na preferred destination they go US ni Europe ni ade. But these outsiders no more you see we manage this issue carefully and I say discussing in common way now very careful because of the humanitarian issues around it and the sustainable development goals any UN structures ni identity no come migration one can year quite say we I mean human rights issues ni ade na akwaye ni o kakra. But you see, every sovereign state like Ghana, no, they manage immigrants. Until this is beyond Libya, Libya for Mabay almost case. Sorry, Niger, any Mali for Mabay almost case. It's beyond that. It's about when a buyer with the right document or buyer no so no. First saying, a then all year is it legal? And I say, or famra quite so. Aye, no ma or my nombre muno. I was say na. Until say tackle the Niger for no nkwa in isolation until all kind na quite say bibi na trigger bibi nti na ye din common found I was say you share the entire migration setup e we krum ha na alata for mo ha Nigeria for mo ha e den no mo ye say what I said in panpo oba no offer the right documentation or use the right documentation of the buyer or buy we no trade I mean krum ha mbrane che say a foreigner does not have to go into petty retailing. So then you masters. And the Ghanaians are virtually begging. Now omunya space kakra with Nigerians in terms of the retail space. Inti at the end of it all no. Obia afa kwan bi so na di boom bra na it is saying you. So for me no I was saying that our entire migration setup our mind holistically from our borders how porous and our borders net here routes be bree illegal routes be bree immigration service for mum omo ya we if so people kuro mu aflawo ofa aflawo da de ko sro ho the oti voter oti routes be bree kwa intino a dance say na ho say na be betimi a block those illegal or unapproved immigrants no mo ba no it start from there because the moment e benya ho no wrong no some of them bad they will definitely want to survive so they will definitely want to survive and a survivor no so no and acquire right issue acquire right issue nti kwa be fa so bia betimi enye survivor no obey then comes into the internal management so what do we do? Intimidate. You shouldn't just be about friends saying you share all our immigrants in China for including all of them. That's why I say girl I'm saying immigration as China for is almost say immigration issues. It takes I say total overhauling. Absolutely.
Okay. The laws are strong, but there's a enforcement.
Someone you beka na eja bi na edi ho nkomo akire esan say na de bia me kan sem bia na me de ayi ahweso owura kan da pa kan sem bi na the current interior minister so asanyaka Muntaka Mubarak o say sa ahoho ya begu system no mu ye ni bibi omu fi ni de omo ye nasefo no it poses security threat, national security threat. Former national security minister kan and they say interior minister so asambeka meaning say ade ni nim ne betumi de aba so ye di na ye hwe ankanya won wa say ayi abrewa ni nkran ayi kurom mu ahye kwa abretu mu ayi nim se di pasho ana ye nim se sa ne pabonifo so no nyina no kwa abretu mu no mo kwhye no mo operate from enti asam no it's more serious than we think enti bra so say no one start way there ene ne aluta continua mo yire mo na mo nye se na be ya yen kase yen pam nipa da bi onipa ote ha na de oye ne nye papa no let the person go ene say ye na oman no ye gi ye man se na America Donald Trump boka no o say American first nti say Ghana first na fi tumi chichiro oman no say ye dia nti na no pay ma me fosa ho kwen fasida emma pa kwesi Eduafo Abeidu or ye development policy analyst wa beka yensa ene ye di nkomo papa efie nkomo ni di ye pa kwesi me da se na fe ya sompa or ye lawyer ni na o ye kesikase mututu enso a wa ben enche se da me kan no dua nkwanta e be pagya na pakan mu e sin hene kase pa o dua nkwanta ya me da se na fe chess ofuri set ofuri Chumesi set ofuri Chumesi ono so ekue ni wa do manesa konkra ne ya so odi bandage akekere mensa no oye financial and economic analyst ono so edi ne nim de ebebe boaye na ye de dwumadi brema no pay ma me fa sa ho kwan na me fa once again emma mago emma ne shede we say ne papa osu hu ne ti mago be bia obi ana no pay me ma o shede pa na fe chibia bonti dom hene ye kwabrane mafu nana wonso udi u mame adeduana nne nti wonso be ma shede lo ya kwame champon busa peri kwa boatin no nyina ma ochebi anopai me ma nyina chi ma nyina shede papa menu abako sunya ne friend acoustic ene acoustic birthday nti acoustic baby a obi ano happy birthday to you. I hope say bibi akoso boko sunyane anti say wanyame na aye so me chia papa anopai mame na production team na se prince obi mpe ene Randy Samuel ne Mustafa Munkaila ena fe Rasta ene Kantanka akwati anti ane friend say the team machine echi no chinchimu no e friend say okito ho ho aha atokwa am na wo ho ena abranti no chinchi jituma firi akwati anti an bi no small boy bi no frien bi no so wa wo nyina aka ho ne de dwumadi ebrem na me fa sedama special season no special drink dey be come this way dey be come this fufu ni tabe kwan mata de am shey so no say e fa na a perfect man for na epam e de share me ene de ayo boy powder Joyce Mensa dede ene boy powder ne Joyce Mensa say you be birthday mfa no ntwam na fe ye ne mu eninkra ene anopai Joyce Mensa Joyce wa ye ne mahu a ene na ageda sene nti ye de besi ya na okay afina ba I say XW1 Douglas Ahima Boampong aka Kwaku Anansi ninkane na former Arkeo ni eden woni soja for so 4 billion Kamina Barracks Tamale we yire no manyina na ebusuafo nyina se omoma wo etiri enkwa pa ena no pe ma mfa sa ho kan na me fa aseda emma police fo nyina omo bomodin papa voter registry tumi anko Barashanti registry tumi kwa no mu kodi nkomo nti de ekoba nyina si e be hya de police for di nkomo na ahwe the crime rate no okwa mo fa so mo combat crime no na fi yetumi ama mo hu de ekoso awo police mu ne bambo ho sempa anopai ye sorry so na ya make de gane say yetwe mu tan kana ye de ye koso ba from ye de enti se bia boni bi do bi ebiribi ne ma bi ne ye hu ne ntem anase ebu ye ne go so a there is time for everything ebraso said ye wo ho no ye bo ho ban kakra na aka ye bo ho ban ye siesie no ye gugu so suo ne ye yen no se na be betumi nyini na so aba ne ne betumi nya so fa so eno ko a ne betumi aboa ye se anya ne sa na as usual politics as usual bre bia dia ene ne ye te ha sa eje gon a mini na ehemu bi bi de Agya Kwabena ho nya kopon ya do mo a yaseme ye be sense ya kra mo nyina ma mo nyina mo ene hwe